All right, welcome back. It's still Nigeria at 59 securing the nation. I would still got our distinguished panel here, and we're talking security. We're spending quite a bit of time on this because it's linked to everything else we could possibly talk about. So we have been told, anyway. And before we went on that break, Mr. Daniel was talking about the supremacy of the law and the Constitution, and once that is entrenched, then other things would follow. Now, let me come to you, Mr. Ojukwu, in Abuja Studios, former Force PRO and a commissioner of police in your own right. And I couldn't help but notice that each time you refer to law enforcement, you start by saying the police and other law enforcement agencies. So that also tells us where your loyalties lie, so to speak, from years of experience. But my question is this. For law enforcement to do their work, they need information, they need technology, they need data. But what Mr. Daniel has pointed out is that is at their place of work. Now, at home, which is what he talked about, the barracks, their living environment, their welfare, and so on, is he right to say that the situation is really bad? Because more recently, I think earlier this year or late last year, we heard about some increase in emoluments for the police, as announced by the president then. What's the situation really as far as you know?
Well, we can write tomes and tons of books and reports on the challenges beside Nigeria police. There are volumes. These problems didn't start today. They've been there for many, many years. And the government is just scratching them at the surface. We haven't got there. The police, like my friend over there mentioned, we are the least paid. I'm no more in the police anyway, but I was there for 32 years. The police is the least paid. If I tell you my pension now, you scream. Is the least paid. They're in the worst of barracks conditions. And they have the least of trust from members of the public. I was watching one of the commercials you ran there, the man trying to supervise the work on his vehicle. That's a lack of trust. Nigerians need to begin to trust their law enforcement agency. The police was created by Nigerians, for Nigerians, and is being run by Nigerians for our common benefit. Information doesn't come. In spite of the poor remuneration, poor welfare, poor everything, policemen are still as committed as ever. You see them everywhere, under thick and thin, under rain or shine. The men are there. Let there be trust. Let the public collaborate with them. I'm talking about information. Sometimes somebody says he will not give information to the police because he may be divulged or he doesn't like police. And somebody will say, if you don't like police, next time you have a problem, call Boko Haram or call One Talk. They will not help you. The police are not just your friends, they are your baby. You created them. Yes. About data, there are many groups, like you mentioned earlier on, that have they stock data. But these things have to be coordinated by a national security policy, whereby all the biometrics are in one place. By the press of the thumb on a computer, you can access everybody, whether his ID card, his national ID card, his passport, driver license, as the case may be. It is Nigerian architecture that has to do that. It's not police. So the police will operate based on what we have given them. I can assure you that the police, being the chief internal security organization, that's why I always talk about the police and others. The police is over 150 years old. It's been there since 1861. So it came before all others. And it is the primary one. Internal security lies with the police. But in this country, we have put the cat before the horse.
Yeah,
we have kind of militarized the space. In every state, you have military operating. And we have kind of de-emphasized the role of the police, and we still blame them for things that are not going well. Why don't we equip them properly, give them the wherewithal they need to work, give them the trust, the respect they need to operate? These are human beings, mind you, and are bona fide Nigerian citizens who can say yes to a thing and it happens. So let Nigerians carry their police along, and the problems, I know they will not be solved overnight because they become chronic, but I don't know there will be a solution if government gives it the proper push. The current push to have a police trust fund has been signed into law for 3 months now. We are still waiting for action. We are still waiting. And the nation is still going down the drain in terms of insecurity. So we need to up the ante and run faster. Besides, let me mention the issue of training. The police has a strong deficit in training. Policemen are not being properly trained. And so because you have not trained them, you don't need to blame them where they do not perform very well. Let's up the ante in training and let our policemen deliver because they are motivated to work. They need encouragement, please.
Yes, Mr. Juk, I know we're going to skip off to talk about something different, but I just want to take you up on something that you said about members of the public trusting the police and, not having this, fear. Trust is a two-way street. You ask yourself whether, they have put themselves in a position where they can be trusted. We have someone on the panel here who is giving a live example, a recent example of reporting a matter and being asked for money. And I said to him, didn't you talk to the DPO? And he said, oh, the DPO said, do what they have been told to do. And we hear so much about police reforms. To the best of your knowledge, are these kind of things still going on?
Well, we still have pockets of such misbehavior, misadventure by officers asking for money before they do the work for which they are paid. What we're asking Nigerians to do, I don't speak for the police anyway, but what we're asking Nigerians to do is that there are channels of ventilating grievances. You cannot use an individual deviance, individual misconduct to rub it on the entire system. Every policeman that I know, I was there for 32 years, any policeman that misbehaved or did what he ought not to do, or didn't do what he ought to do, if he's reported to the appropriate quarters, action will be taken. A good number have been dismissed, a good number in court, a good number in prison, a good number were even sentenced to death because Nigerians followed up on their reports. It's not enough to cast aspersions on them, they're foolish, they're not doing this, they're not doing this. Follow up on your complaint. Follow up. If you report to DPO and it's nonchalant, you have area commander. You have the public relations officer of the command. You have the commissioner of police. You have the zonal commander. You have the IG. These are police officers and these are your servants. Where one level doesn't work, try the second level, higher level, and gain justice. Evil continues to fester when good people keep quiet. It's not enough to just say the police are not doing this. Have you made the proper report? Have you followed up? Have you followed through to get that person to be corrected, either to be reduced in rank, to be dismissed, and even be sent to jail? A good number have it. So, and there are channels. You have the complaints response unit is there. You have the platform. You have the A22 Public Complaints Bureau that there. Let Nigerians use opportunities, these facilities, and report police misconduct and follow through. I can assure you they'll get justice, and some of these bad boys will be corrected even on their toes.
All right, Mr. Ojukwu, thank you for that. We want to move on because of time so that we can cover as much ground as possible. And something the president said, which was extremely interesting for those who were listening, was what he said about power. Apparently, there's a plan now that, in conjunction with, I believe it's Siemens of Germany, and
increase the amount of gigawatts.
Yes, gigawatts of between now and 2023.
That's right. Yes,
in phases. And he also outlined how they, we're going to go
from 5 to 7.
7, and then from
9.
7 to 9, and that, and it's some kind of PPP. And now, some people have said to me on various fora that if the government could solve the power supply problem, they should just do that and then get out of the way and see what will happen. Is any of you impressed? Do you see evidence that this is something that could actually work? Prof.
Well, I've really been praying. If there's anything I've been praying for in this country, it's light. Biblically, of course, it's light that you are actually confessed before any other thing. Because light is so critical in all our endeavors. Even when you are lecturing, you need light. When you are doing research, you need light. When you are processing, you need light. Even as we are talking, if they don't have light in their homes, we're only winking in the dark. Nobody will get anything. I really hope that what the president is planning could be achieved, because over the years we have been seeing a rather declining kilowatts of the various light or energy issue over the years. And billions and trillions of money are really gone into it.
Yes, the present government says under it, they spent 1.5 trillion on the issue of power.
On the issue of power.
Do you feel like this 1.5 trillion has been spent when you get home?
I've
Trying to
not,
put Prof on this
I've not
spot.
seen that. I've not seen that because I was saying that
You get 2-3 hours,
barely
which was what you
2-3
said
hours.
earlier,
You
yes.
know, even in Abeokuta, the capital city of Ogun State, and I'm sure that other towns will really get something low, and we really need to be serious about this. Whatever the government can do to achieve this, it's a major thing. Yeah, if you invite people to come and do some training, you will see the number of times that the light will go off and those things. And we are consuming diesel. Even in simple micro enterprises, we are consuming diesel. And by the time we continue to do this, then the economy is going down. So we really need to take the bull by the horn regarding this.
Dr. Eguido, what's your...
Again, generating electricity is not rocket science. It's just that we don't want to do it. In fact, this whole idea...
You say we don't want to do it.
I don't think
Who is the we? We
the
desperately
government
want to do it.
doesn't, because they are making money from selling generators and filling their pockets. Do you know how much money they spent under Obasanjo? And the president is outstanding up by saying they have spent 1.3
5 trillion.
Yes, that's shocking. And yet, when I go home now, there's no light.
Yes.
There is none. Now, when they bring in Siemens, what will be the status of the Gencos? What's the relation between the Gencos and Siemens coming in? My interest is in the local distributions.
Not generation.
Yes. For example, in my neighborhood, recently our transformer got burnt. We contributed money to buy it. So what is the government, where does the government spend money in this power issue? I don't know. I just don't understand it.
Mr. Daniel, you've
Daniel,
been
do
laughing.
you know that? Do you know that
It could be said that you were complicit.
Yes. I'm asking because, if you look at your average street, one person is diesel gen, one person has an inverter, another person seems to be trying solar. You have different energy solutions going on, and you just...
Except the public grid.
Except the grid. How, explain.
Look, again, it all points out to the fact that, when government fails, individuals would have to be able to find a way to sort themselves out. That's what we're doing in Nigeria. But when you talk about power, I need us to understand very clearly that there are different segments of power. Yeah? There's the generation, there's transmission, and there's distribution. Now, in all of these areas, they're flawed. So it's not just about generating power, okay? You need to be able to ensure you have the right transmission to even move the power, to take the power. As we speak today, some of the Gencos they're producing power that people can't take.
Yes.
As we speak now.
Half of what is being generated, that's what the reports say. Half of what is being generated right now can't be taken.
Can't be taken. So it tells you a problem that we have. And then you now go to the distribution, which is what he was talking about. The average Nigerian, number one, does not pay his bills. And if he does pay his bills at all, you're going to have to chase after him to get whatever it is. Now, in a nation, which goes back to what I was saying to you, in a nation where the rule of law applies, everyone will ensure that they do what is the needful.
No, but that was why we brought up prepaid. And they say, okay, you get this meter, then you've paid, you don't have the meter. You're waiting for 2, 3, 4 months, no meter. You then go back to what you had before.
Did you mean 3, 4 years?
Okay, yes,
It still goes back to that same thing we're saying. The reason why you're paying for prepaid meter and you're not getting a prepaid meter is simply because somebody knows that they can do that and get away with it. Do you see where I'm coming from? So it is important for us to see that the foundation must be set right, that the Constitution is above everyone else in this nation, including the president. And once Nigeria begins to see that body language, you said, things will change across the board. But it's unfortunate, like I was telling you earlier while we were speaking, that the biggest problem with this nation is not a leadership issue,
Nigerians are good leaders. If you take them somewhere else, they're good leaders. Corruption, nepotism, all of these things are born out of something that I find very interesting. I realized in this election that I discovered something that I'd never discovered before, trying to understand what the problems of Nigeria was. And I realized that Nigeria has a religious problem, but not the way we see it. It's not Islam and Christianity. I realized that these two religions are not the two main religions in Nigeria. There's a third religion, and that religion is what I call the religion of self. It is the biggest religion in Nigeria. It has taken over Islam. It's taken over Christianity. It is the one big problem Nigeria has today. And it all stems to one thing. Everyone thinks about himself, which has created this ethnic thing, the tribal thing, the clannish mentality that we have. If Nigeria can solve this one problem, and the only way to solve that problem is that everybody is unified under one, which is the law, that everybody understands that the law is above everybody else.
Let me put you on pause there, because we have we have people who say that yes, what you said is correct to the extent, but that the reason why people retreated into their ethnic, religious, and other enclaves is because the general one you mentioned, the one, does not exist. In the discussion that my colleague Shehu Okibaloye had, you heard Chief Adebayo talking about the fraud that is our current constitution.
Yes.
And he's not the only one who has that view. There are quite a number of people who say so.
Yeah.
That because when you start with we the people, that which people? Exactly. Are you referring to? That's so.
And who do we?
So who are those we? Barrister Sadatu Mohammed, you're a lawyer. And what Mr. Daniel has spoken about is the rule of law, that once we have this rule of law, we may be able to head off in some other direction positively. Is that correct? Do you think so? You're not able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, I said, do you think that if we had rule of law, if we had everybody, as Mr. Daniel said, under one rule, one supreme document, usually the Constitution, many of our other problems, power supply, corruption, political instability, insecurity, and so on, would be addressed positively?
Well, I believe I wasn't hearing very well, but I understand you want the constitutional position on the on
Rule of law.
rule of law.
Yes, rule of law,
Okay.
yes.
You see, the 1999 Constitution is the latest constitution and the highest law in the land. It has provided for everything we Nigerians can benefit from. And rule of law is one of the things, because it's one of it. And you see, in trying to follow the 1999 Constitution, we have three major problems in this country. One is implementation. Secondly, is weak management. And thirdly, is corruption. If all this can be followed and can be implemented, the policies can be implemented, then we will have a better and good Nigeria, I believe. Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry, because I didn't get your question very well.
All right, it's fine. We'll repeat the question on the other side of the break, as I realize
my
that
earphone
perhaps
is
there's a
not
bit of an
working.
issue and we can't
Yes.
hear you too well. I doubt you can hear us. So we'll just retreat for a little break, sort that out, and come
then
back
we'll
and
be back,
continue.
yeah.
Yeah.